Alright, welcome to Kung Fu Havoc number 2. Again, this is part 2 of tall guys combating short guys. Alright, my personal opinion, um, without practice, there is no reward. And a taller guy should only study certain martial arts where anybody 6 foot and below, the martial art world is your oyster. Where if you're over 6 feet, there's some martial arts that's just not capable for your body. I'm not saying that you'd be a dick. I'm just saying that because sometimes the taller person has a harder time doing moves made for smaller people. Alright? Like if you're like 6'6" and you're taking up Wing Chun, good for you. However, you're going to find some of the moves that are short range a little bit more difficult versus long range. Now, if you're 6'6" and you're doing Wushu, you're a BMF, and again, good for you. But you know, I would mostly tell people, and I'm going to piss off a lot of people right now, so please forgive me. If you're over 6'1", or at least over 6'4", I don't recommend doing any Chinese styles. That's just my personal opinion. That's my personal bias. Don't take that shit seriously. But, you know, because a lot of Chinese styles don't require a lot of range, and they are more direct, and they make your strength practically useless. I mean, there's no such thing as true useless for strength, but in certain Chinese martial arts, strength don't really do much if you can't get to your opponent. You know what I mean? Like if you're both doing Wing Chun and you're 6'8" and the guy you're fighting is 5'3", he's going to run circles around you before you even can get anything on him. And that's going to be a problem for you because you have a massive body. And I'm not saying like massive as in fat. I mean like you're 6'3". So you're every bit of 250 pounds or better. And that's a lot of muscle to move against somebody who's like 5'2", who's like maybe 125 pounds, maybe 115 pounds. It also depends on gender. You know, that's a lot of weight and speed difference between the two of y'all. And again, gravity. Everybody knows that gravity is not their friend in most scenarios. However, in certain fights where it's a David versus Goliath, David was short, Goliath was tall. Nobody's taller than the last man standing. So, as I told you guys in the other video, and for Instagram, you're still rolling, that you should squat down at least 3 inches depending on your height, unless you're 6'1", 6'2". The reason why 6'3" needs to squat down to at least to be 6'1" is because it's a whole lot easier for someone who's 6 feet tall to punch me in the face. Because I'm 5'3", I'm like right at their arm level. Alright? Where if they're 6 feet tall, I gotta kind of bring them down. So if they're throwing a jab and I block and I strike and I bring a knee up, that's because my target's right here. That would be the Kung Fu way. For karate, it would be block, counter, and they're gonna counter, and I'm gonna keep countering, we're gonna counter until somebody gets hit. I don't have time for that shit. So they throw a punch, straight jab, block break, strike, grab, pull, because this is the closest body part. Now, if I wanted to do it the other way and add force, like I did in the other video, block, break, strike, twist the knee. And when you're twisting that knee, you're turning it all the way in, and your target is anywhere in the center line. Alright? Preferred dead center, just where the abdomen and the belly button kind of collide. But if you want to really like just go on and put the wind out of them, then you want to go where the chest and the belly collide. So that way you'll have the ability to knock the wind out of them. After you ram that into them, you want to elbow them in the back. Sadly, if you guys are in the UFC or MFC or MMA and all that shit, y'all know that's probably illegal. Because you can't elbow somebody directly in the spine. However, out in the streets, hey, fair game. If I gotta elbow you in the spine to make you completely stop so that you don't hurt me, that's what I'm going to do. It's the same thing with somebody bigger than me coming in for a tackle, which is why I'm making this video right now. I do not have a demonstration dummy, so I can't show you the exact motion of what is needed. Hello to you two who just popped up on Instagram. Ow, let me wave to you really fast. Ah, crap. Anyway, when someone's tackling you and they're bigger, it's easier for me to do shit that they won't think that I'm going to do. Alright, rule number 1, you're already being tackled. Accept that. Because once they have you in the tackling motion, or they're spearing you, you're pretty much a subject of who's going to get the wind knocked out of them. And it's more than likely the person getting speared is getting hit right here they're going to get the wind knocked out of them. And if you're very unlucky and you don't have bowel control, you may poop on yourself. So to counter that, because you can't stop it, you're going to put your knees and your elbows. You're going to clap. You're going to knee them in this area, and you're going to elbow them anywhere across that big center line of their shoulders. Now, for you people who are giants, who are 6 feet tall, this is why you should not spear anybody smaller. Because I know you guys probably watch wrestling and you've seen the code breaker, back breakers, somebody jumping off the ropes and you put your knees up, and you know, those kind of things. You can still do those in street fights. Granted, hitting asphalt and grass probably hurts a little bit more than hitting the mat that you see in wrestling or in a dojo. And when you're fighting somebody smaller than you kind of got to make yourself smaller. However, do not fall into the trap of, he's shorter, if I get shorter, I'm going to be able to take him. No, you're going to be able to go with them, which is why I suggested you get shorter. But you don't get so short that you're shorter than the shorter guy, because we're already short. So when you're throwing that jab and you sink down to throw the jab, it's easier for you to throw the jab, because when you're fighting someone shorter and you're taller, you can't fight long range if you're looking for a victory. As I'm 5'3", I have to work hard to hit you in the face if you're 6'4", 6'5". I don't have to work that hard if you're 6 even. I just have to bait you in. And this is the thing about certain martial arts. Like judo, my job in judo is to use your speed and your momentum against yourself, and gravity helps a lot. Now, in the event that you are attacked from the back in judo and they clasp their hands like this and they start ragdolling you, your primary target is to try to kick the shin or kick the teardrops in the knees, or if they're lifted you up like an idiot, you kick them in the crotch. Yes, that is wrong, but they're coming up off their hands when you kick them in the crotch. They're letting go. They're letting go. And from there, you know, you're just going to back kick the shit out of them. Now, unless you're going to do jujitsu where they let go and then you're going to spin around and put them in some kind of chokehold or arm bar or some shit like that, and that's cool too. But the problem with that is, if you didn't hurt them with that kick, they're just going to come right back. So you have to figure out how to adapt in that fight at that moment, and that shit ain't as easy as it sounds via video, you know. So again, you're 6'5", I'm 5'3", so you got to come down to at least a 6 foot range. So you're going to shrink, but now you have to understand, what is your next step? Are you going to fight me with Wing Chun short kicks? Are you going to fight me with Kung Fu short kicks? Or are you going to try to fight me with Wushu? Alright? As I said, in my next video, I'm going to piss everybody over 6 feet off anyway. But to prelude to that, if you're over 6 feet, like if you're like The Rock, I'm sorry, Wushu is not for you. But then again, it very well could be. There's an enigma in every sport. I mean, I just watched Willie Mack bust a moonsaw in the middle of the ring. He's a big guy. And then when I think about Sammo Hung, who's also a big guy, but he's not tall. He's like 5'11". You know, he's taller than me, but he's not tall. You know, he's not like 6 foot and stuff, but he's tall, but he's not tall. He's like about average, maybe a little over average. But, you know, he moves like a wildcat, and he's a big guy. And I don't mean just because he's fat. He's just big, you know. But he also moves, and that's why he's an enigma, because he's fat and he moves like a guy my size, you know. Which is why I said there's an enigma in everything. But I honestly, in my own opinion, don't think that Wushu is for anybody over 6 feet tall. Again, that's my opinion. If you're 6 feet and you do Wushu, you're a fucking ace. Especially if you do old school Wushu and not that so much showy shit that they do. But, you know, if you do, like, all the forms and all the things, but you actually can imply the old school shit, and, you know, then that's great. My young ass ain't old enough to do that anymore. That came out completely wrong. My old ass isn't young enough to do that anymore. Plus, with this hip replacement, Wushu's out. So, tall guys, you're sinking down, and you're going to use short punches. Boom, boom, boom. You're not going to get full extension because, one, if you throw a full extended punch, I'm 5'3". So I have your arm range times how fast I can get to one side or the other. Now you got to worry about what's your counter strike. Alright? Because if I block it, you're going to need to throw something else at me. So, boom, boom. And let's say you like uppercuts. When I was younger, I used to believe that you couldn't block uppercuts. That's bullshit, because this is an uppercut. The best way to block an uppercut is to get the hell out the way. So, you know, move. I mean, you can block like this, or I forgot the exact style, but if someone's throwing an uppercut and you come down with an elbow, two things about that. First, I don't recommend it, because your funny bone hurts, and you may break your own elbow if they're coming up and you're going down. That double friction may do some damage, and if they're bigger or stronger than you, you may break your own elbow. The thing about that is also that if they bat your elbow out the way, they're going to put you into a position where you can't really defend yourself, and you don't want to be in that position. So, you know, but if they throw an uppercut and you get out the way and you do an elbow like that, like striking somewhere in here, then that's fine. But if you can't get out of the way of the uppercut, you know, you need to be able to protect. So these will work. They just keep it tight. But most of the time, you know, you can keep it tight anyway, just because you don't want to get hit in the face. No one likes getting hit in the face. I haven't met anybody in my life who likes getting hit in the face, except for maybe one white cat. But I'm going to leave his name out. But yeah, he's the only white person that I ever met that likes getting hit in the face. Don't ask me. It was a high school friend. But, you know, I guess it was to make him tougher. I don't know. But, so, you're 6'4", you've shrunk down to where you're like 6 foot, but you don't want full extensions just because of the fact that it makes it easier for me to block them, boom, boom, and I can get out of the way because you're going full extension. So, you're 6'4", you shrunk down to 6 feet, now you just want to do Wing Chun or Kung Fu strikes, which is boom, 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 which again I did in the other video. Or if you want to be real slick, boom, boom, you know, boom, 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 boom. So you want to go down, up, or up, down. But you want to keep them short and petty strikes so that it'll look more like this. So that way your target is all of this, especially if you get through my guard. So zoom, 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 zoom. So you gotta understand how body mechanics work also. So if I'm charging at you, then you don't have to worry about squatting down, because that's where you can lose your long range. So I'm running at you. You have a flurry of options, you know. Outside to inside crescent kick. Let me do it this way so you can see. You know, I'm running right at you, and you're 6 feet. This is where long range comes in. Boom, front kick. You know, coming at me. You're not gonna do this. All right. As you saw, all of that was open. So if you do this, and I slide under, I'm hitting you. You're not going to want to do that if you're 6 feet. So you want to keep that shit basic. I'm charging you. You're 6 feet. So you're going to go, boom. That step in front kick's probably going to level me right there. In real life, here's your target. This whole area. You're 6 feet, so you're not going to have to work that hard as long as you're fighting at long distance. Now, if I slide by that bitch, I roll around, and I come in with a spinning back fist, which I also do not recommend because it's too easy to get your elbow broken. I mean, if they see it coming, it's easy for them to block that bitch. You know, many ways to block a spinning back fist. Because if you're, boom, you see I put my guard up. A lot of people, when they do a spinning back fist, they do it like that. And you see my guard is down. So, that's a no-no. This is the correct way. So here, boom. This way my guard is there in case this misses, so I can block whatever you throw. That way it stops me from getting hurt. But say, I missed this, I'm going to sleep. Really simple. Because I missed the spinning back fist because you ducked. So I try to block your hit, then you counter it, and then you come back up with the other hit. And it's 9 times out of 10, I'm going to sleep. So, we don't want that. But again, if you're over 6 feet, so that I can go to the next video. In fact, you guys will just sit here. But I'm going to stop this video now, and I'm going to go into martial arts, my personal opinion on height, and what style you should study. I'm about to piss off every martial artist on the planet, so I'm sorry in advance.